Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today, we're discussing the Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso Night and Day, sometimes known as the Sun Moon. You can see and you can purchase this white gold Grand tie-cased Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right-hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch, with additional accessories included in the sale, high-resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso Night, Day, or Sun Moon. Whichever you prefer to refer to the watch, there's no doubting that this was a classic from its era. A model released in 1999, the line was largely discontinued by 2005. It had a short but glorious run in platinum, rose gold, and white gold, of which the white gold was probably the most versatile and enduringly alluring model of the family. And you can see on my wrist, it's the traditional Grand tie case, 42.2 millimeters lug to lug, 26 millimeters across the broad of the case from 9 to 3, and a svelte 9.8 millimeters thick in spite of the complications. As with all Reversos, the side is nicely rounded, such that it easily slides underneath a tight sleeve or dress cuff. But this watch does have the aesthetic versatility to wear well with almost anything. Now, the watch has a substantial amount of heft to it, being all of white gold, with a separate rotating case and underlying chassis. It has a reassuringly hefty feel on the wrist, reminding you that you're wearing something very special. The strap, as with all Reverso straps, is fit to high-drilled lugs for a very integrated look, no night and day or any daylight whatsoever showing through at the extremities of this night and day. The watch is beautifully integrated in Art Deco form, case flowing into strap, strap nicely bolstered, large rectangular scale alligator leather with folded edges and a monotone stitch. It's paired with Jaeger-LeCoultre's final single fold deployant clasp design. This was the second of two, and it was discontinued after 2005. What sets it apart is that it's more intricately finished than the first generation clasp, which was essentially just two stamped pieces of metal. This one's fluted down the center for additional strength. It also features an internal branding with a media blasted surface to contrast with the polished outer surfaces, and it's more substantial than that first clasp. It has more metal in it and more heft, providing security against droppage while donning or removing. It also nicely counterbalances the heavy watch head, so if you wear your watch loose, having that extra mass on the bottom prevents it from capsizing or moving around. Now, the case is beautifully finished. I mentioned Art Deco cues, and here they are. Wonderful rounded conical lugs juxtaposed to the strong rectilinear geometries and right angles when the watch is viewed from the front. You have the traditional triple cadrons across the case horizontally at 12 and 6 in contrast and tension with the vertical case line, that 90-degree angle, producing a palpable energy and strain visually. It's something that's difficult to resolve and beautiful for it. Now, of course, you look at the case flank and it looks like a different watch, beautifully rounded and arced. Of course, the dial recapitulates all of the elements of artistry that we've come to associate with Jaeger-LeCoultre and the Reverso family generally, but not in an Art Deco mode. The numerals that you see beautifully hand-painted in white lacquer seem to evoke the pre-Art Deco Art Nouveau movement, florid and flowing with enormous serifs. They really recall an era before Art Deco, the very beginnings of modernism and modernism in art, and having the two together is simply sublime, as is the contrast between the white and the black of the lacquered dial. Hand-painted white lacquered numerals on a black lacquer base. Both are beautifully glossy, rich, and deep, and you can see in a sort of neoclassical fashion, the complications have been strewn about the dial, almost in the style of a 18th or 19th century golden era pocket watch. Power reserve scale at 1030, tracing the 45-hour manual wind power reserve. Small seconds, and underneath that, a bosom style moon face with a night and day or AM/PM disc between 1 and 2. Of course, the hands at center are broadsword style and fully luminescent, so this is one of the few formal Reversos that you can actually see at night as well as by daylight. Turn the watch over and you can see two of the highlights of the timepiece. First, the even and beautifully intact engine turning along the base of the carriage, along with deep, rich, and unmarred and undiminished hallmarks and maker's marks, the sign of a case that has been rarely, if ever, refinished. And then you can see the movement itself. Jaeger-LeCoultre's manufacture caliber 823, manually wound with a 45-hour power reserve. It beats away at 21,600 vibrations per hour, and it features a very traditional architecture with an old-style center wheel, really a masterclass in traditional horology. You can trace the flow of power from the mainspring barrel to the center wheel, the third wheel, fourth wheel, escape wheel with shock protection, the pallet, and then the balance. Beautifully executed. You can see there's a linear, straight, and completely aligned set of Côte de Genève stripes across the bridges and the surround. Because this movement family, the 822 and the 823, was designed for this Grand Taille case that debuted in the 90s, you can see that the tolerances between the edge of the movement and the flanks of the case are very close. This is a movement designed for the case, manufacturer style. All of the screws are kiln-fired and heat-oxidized to that rich cobalt blue, and there's a beautiful spectrum of colors from the silver of the bridges to the gold of the engravings and the wheels and the balance, to the violet pivot jewels and those wonderfully blue, deep, and rich screws. This is manufacturer watchmaking at its best in terms of artistry and engineering. A rugged and reliable timekeeper. It's the ideal complement to this style, a true showstopper, a watch deserving of pride of place in any collection, and an outstandingly collectible, versatile, and desirable Reverso from the Y2K era. You can see this Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso Sun Moon Night Day, whatever you want to call it. I call it gorgeous, and buy it on our website.